yesterday where Wiggy and Mark Wahlberg have just spent the last couple of minutes talking to each other about their upbringing here in the city of Boston, even though Wiggy is from Brooklyn, New York. All right, here we go.
Thanks for doing this.
My pleasure.
Wiggy just told you his whole history in East Boston. Anything else? Any follow-up questions you want?
I think we're going to go get a bite to eat.
Hey, listen. I'll take the.
I mean, he would enjoy Wahlburgers, but Popeye's probably his first choice.
Yeah.
Hold on, we only have one mic.
Oh, I mean, I'm just chopping
Sweet
it. I'm
tater tot?
double decker, the original with the wall sauce and the tater tots.
Nice. I love it. You're making me hungry. So when I did all the weight gaining for this movie, people thought, oh, how fun. You get to put on 30 pounds. And I wasn't eating Wahlburgers all day. I went to this doctor who's supposed to be like, I'm the guy who knows how to do it the healthy way. And I was just eating like stuff that you wouldn't want to eat once in a day, never mind eating 7-8 times a day for 6 weeks. So
I'm glad you mentioned that because I need to put a few pounds on. So I was wondering what's about. Didn't you drink olive oil or something?
Yeah, that was one of the things. You had
Straight?
to go. Yeah, that's the best way to do it. You could soak it in rice and do all this stuff, but I just kind of chugged it down. Supposed to actually be good for you.
The movie is great. We saw it last night. How did you learn the story? How'd you learn Father Stu's story?
Well, I went to dinner with, it sounds like a bad joke, I'm at an Italian restaurant in LA with 2 priests, but this is true, and both from Good Shepherd, and I think it was a Saturday, so they probably just heard a bunch of confessions, had a long day. We wanted to just get a quick early dinner, 5 o'clock, the old guy special, and then all of a sudden Father Ed starts pitching me on this movie, and I'm like, asking Father Orion, like, why is he pitching me on a movie? I mean, doesn't he have a job? And then I didn't know he was so into Hollywood. and so then it dawned on me that, wait a second, this is something I should be paying attention to. And then I realized, oh my gosh, tell me the story again, start from the top. And then I fell in love with the idea of making this movie and bringing Father Stu's story to the world.
And it was really hard to get Hollywood to make the movie.
It wasn't that it was hard to get Hollywood to make the movie. It wasn't like I pitched it to everybody. I mean, this is certainly not the kind of movie that studios are going to jump on anyway. It's not like, people are looking for superhero movies. They're looking for franchises with sequel potential. Original IP is not the kind of hottest commodity either. But that being said, I was like, let me just kind of figure it out on my own so there's no outside interference with the creative. I did slip it to a couple of people. But because of the material and the subject matter, I don't know, people, it's left to your own interpretation, right? It's all subjective, so some people might not have gotten the humor. They thought Stu was too rough around the edges. They thought it was too depressing because of, when he's diagnosed and ultimately the ending. But, we always knew there was going to be something that was really funny and emotional, but yet uplifting and inspiring. And so I just said, let's just kind of do it on our own and take that kind of swing. I'd always been betting on myself anyway, so.
Any reluctance on your part? I mean, it's a serious role. Did you think about it twice in doing it, or were you like, I'm all in right from the get-go?
No, I was all in from the get-go. And then it was like, when it was time to start shooting, I was like, oh, well, gosh, I guess we're really doing this, huh? No pressure. But yeah, I spent a lot of time preparing, and this role was certainly right up my alley.
Did you know Mel Gibson was the guy right off the bat?
To play Bill? No, we didn't really think about anybody else in the movie. I was developing this movie for a while with David O. Russell, but Mel had made The Passion of the Christ, and that was obviously a big undertaking and a love letter to the Lord. So I wanted to get his opinion on what the process was like for him, all the kind of pros and cons. And then Bill Long, Stu's dad, Mel was his first choice. And so I think we attracted the likes of Mel's and Jackie Weaver and Malcolm McDowell and all the other really talented people, Teresa Ruiz and everybody, because of the material and the subject matter. Everybody wanted to be a part of bringing Stu's vision to the big, his voice to the big screen.
And Mel gets a pretty good laugh with a line that is, I think, interesting based on his history. Was he reluctant with any of the? Because
no,
I assume that was like, hey, we're gonna have Mel. We're gonna have Mel deliver this line.
Yeah, I think we're gonna we wanted to make a movie that was just kind of raw and just kind of. It was more about Bill and Stu and who they were and the relationship they had. It was more about them than it was about that particular line or him saying it.
And you feel like Father Stu should be canonized?
Well, I also feel like Mickey Ward should be in the Boxing Hall of Fame. Yeah, I stick up. I ride for my
Hold on.
guys.
We have a potential Hall of Famer right here
Yeah.
with us. You couldn't
I
use
ride
that.
for my
You
guys.
couldn't use that as your example.
This is the next. Well, I'll start campaigning right now.
All right. For Wiggy.
Absolutely.
Okay, as long as we're talking about that.
Absolutely.
As
We'll
long as-
stop in Canton, Ohio. I got friends in Ohio.
But do you have a Patriots question? Because do you want to go with yours?
I
Or
have a question that I think goes right into what you just said.
okay, well go ahead.
Well, because my feeling during it, I'm from Lowell, so it felt like The Fighter. Obviously, much different storylines, but very dark,
Gritty and
but
real.
also funny at times. Stories. So you seem to play those roles really well. You seem to be drawn to those roles, and I just wanted to know why, and if you got that feeling too when you were making this one.
That's pretty much how I grew up as well. You know, lots of dysfunction, but lots of love and people trying to figure it out with what little they have. You know, you only have the examples that are right in front of you, right? You got to kind of figure it out as you go along. And for me, once I found my faith, you know, that's when I started getting a taste of good things, positive things in my life. And so I like that a lot, and I continue to pursue that. And that's why I credit all the good in my life, both personally and professionally, to my faith. But oddly enough, Father Ed was with Father Stu and his dad, and they saw the fighter in the theater together. And when everybody else came out and they were shadow boxing and stuff, Bill and Stu were just Bill was wheeling him out in his chair, and they were just kind of quiet because they knew it was personal to them, and they felt like they could see a lot of their own family in that family dynamic in the film. And so that was always kind of what we were going for tonally. If you could compare it to anything, you could compare it to The Fighter, because, you know, there's lots of dysfunction, but there's lots of humor and heart, and ultimately, you know, it's pretty inspiring. So, you know, we kind of went down the road the first time with the script. I remember we had a writer that we just kind of pitched, and, you know, we had read some of her work, and she went off and wrote something that didn't work, and this was with David Russell. And I was like, no, we're not doing that. And Father Ed got so nervous because he's like, oh, no, we can't do this. Let's just get one of these faith-based people to do it. I said, but that's the opposite of what you said you wanted to make. We want to make something really quality that doesn't just preach to the choir. It really is for everybody, and is a movie that will reach the masses. And so it was always about finding that right tone and making sure people were comfortable. I remember when we submitted the movie to the Archdiocese, and they were so uncomfortable with the language, and they were worried that the movie was just going to be vulgar, and they didn't understand that it was all there for a reason. This movie is about tough grace and tough mercy. And this is how people talk, you know. And so after seeing the movie, when I was able to go make the movie, bring it to them, and they saw the movie, and they gave me the most glowing reviews that I've gotten thus far, and to see them support the movie the way they have, that was really all the confirmation that I needed.
When it comes to being a story about turning your life around, I lost my mom in last November. I know you lost your mom while you were filming this, and your mom was somebody who was proud of you turning your life around. Was that inspiration for you in playing this character?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Listen, this is about, especially in a time where people are turning their back on people, this is about seeing the good in somebody, you know, not giving up on people, you know, that nobody is beyond redemption, that if people are really remorseful in their hearts, and God knows your heart, right? So we want to encourage people to change. People who have and I know so many people who have had, you know, problems in the street with drugs and in gangs and trouble. If they felt like nobody cared about them and they had nothing to hope for, I mean, where would they be?
All right, we got to get to 5 questions here quick. Wiggy, I know you.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to ask one simple question. Obviously, I know I saw you talk about this briefly. You've done a tremendous job of playing people with Father Stu. You talk about The Fighter, Mickey Ward. I know you had mentioned Bill Belichick, and your company does a lot. You executive produce, you do a lot of. Is that something that you would ever really be interested in doing? Because, I mean, just Belichick's story alone, I think it's a great story. You could pull it off. I know Brady's got 80 for Brady, so we need something for Belichick.
Yeah, you know, it all started with somebody who was like, who would you see yourself playing, Tom Brady or Bill Belichick? I think I look a little bit more like Bill Belichick. Let's just be real, which is fine. And I love Bill, and I also know Bill. So to be able to hear Bill, you know, beyond the podium where he says next to nothing, and really hear him, you know, I just kind of threw it out there. But yeah, I mean, if it's a possibility, I think he would trust me to do him justice.
There are other Hollywood stars from Boston who have picked Brady over the Patriots, have kind of turned their back on the Patriots. Matt Damon. Where do you
Did
fall
he turn
on
his
that?
back on the Patriots?
Yeah, he's a Bucks fan now.
I've always said that if I'll root for Tom Brady, But if they're playing the Patriots, I mean, I can't believe that we lost that game. That field, I mean, it was still to this day. It was so upsetting that he came and stole that win. But I'd certainly root for him anytime, unless it was against the Patriots. But no, I mean, Mac Jones, baby.
Yeah. What did you give him for a grade last year?
Mac?
Yeah.
I thought, you know what? I'd give him a B plus. You know, I think the problem was, I mean, when they started winning again, they were on that win streak. We're like, oh, here we go again. We're just going to march right off into the playoffs. We could probably win this thing because we're so used to winning, right? But I think he's going to be great. I think he's really smart and talented, and he's a good fit.
Last one for me, Tiger this weekend. Or give me your pick for the Masters.
Well, I don't think we'd want to see anything other than Tiger being in contention on a Sunday. I was there when he came back and won at Augusta. It's incredible, you know, just to see him back, the level of excitement around the game. This is usually the time where I would go to South Carolina. We'd stay at Sage Valley, play some golf, and then go over to the Monday morning after the Masters, and you get to play one of the sponsor spots. So, I mean, I can't believe that he's playing again, and hopefully he'll contend. You know, it's always the dream.
All right. When you're here, other than Wahlburgers, one place you have to eat while you're in the city?
Oh gosh, you know, it'd be the Venice Pizza, a neighborhood spot. I mean, I have lots of friends that have lots of great restaurants, and there's so much great food here. But, you know, if I could get a chicken cutlet sub or, you know, cheeseburger sub, I'm happy.
All right, Wiggy Farm. Okay.
All right, thanks,
Awesome.
guys.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
Mark Wahlberg, Wiggy, good get.
Good job.
I mean, I'm
Mac Jones is going to be great.